You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Behind the mysterious reason Trump foes caved on Blanche, based on an article by Matthew Rosda. The Senate's fake resistance is the point. A brief summary of the stunt. 2 Republican senators, Thom, Tillis, and John Cornyn, were reported to be backing Todd Blanche's confirmation after first threatening to block him unless he promised not to revive Trump's $1.776 billion slush fund for supporters. Blanche gave them a non-binding statement. That was enough for them to fold. The reporting leaves little room for mystery about what happened next. The Senate got its token drama, and Trump got the confirmation path he wanted. Power was never in the senators' hands. The institutional power in this story sits with Trump and the machinery around him, not with the 2 departing senators staging a brief performance of backbone. Blanche is the nominee. Trump is the patron. The Senate, in this account, is the venue being used to ratify executive corruption after a few minutes of theater. That is the real structure here. Cornyn and Tillis were not negotiating from strength. They were managing optics. The lame duck protest is not resistance when it ends in the exact outcome the dominant actor wants. The decision was a capitulation. The decision maker was obvious from the start. Trump, through his nominee and his hold over the party's remaining loyalists. But the senators chose their role too. They could have refused a confirmation that even the source material frames as grotesque and unfit. Instead, they accepted a non-binding statement from Blanche, a piece of paper with all the force of a shrug. That is not oversight. It is collaboration with a professional gloss. When a nominee can promise nothing concrete, while the object of the controversy remains untouched, the senators are not extracting concessions. They are lending legitimacy to the very abuse they pretended to question. The misdirection is the message. The article's central trick is also its central warning. Focus gets pulled toward whether Cornyn and Tillis were principled, baffled, or out of step. That framing flatters them. It treats their public hesitation as a meaningful act instead of what it was, a short-lived costume change before obedience. The real story is not senatorial inconsistency. It is that Republican institutionalism has been reduced to ceremonial objection followed by full surrender. The middle way Tokyo describes as not moderation. It is the conservative establishment's refined method for normalizing authoritarian conduct while preserving a self-image of seriousness. Blanche is not the exception. Blanche matters here, but not as a lone villain. The source says the deal still leaves room for Trump and his family to dodge consequences over the fund. That is the point. A nominee willing to serve as a conduit for that arrangement is not a departure from the system. He is the system working as designed. Corruption does not survive because of a single thug in the room. It survives because institutional actors keep handing the thug a clean shirt and the confirmation vote. The Senate's role is not merely to fail to stop abuse. It is to launder it. The pattern is complicity wearing a necktie. What this story reveals is older than Trump and bigger than Blanche. In the Republican coalition, formal institutions are now used to stage managed mission. Senators are allowed a few rhetorical gestures so long as they do not interfere with power's actual movement. That is how democratic sabotage becomes routine, not through constant crisis, but through the steady conversion of oversight into performance. The historical judgment here should not be blurred. The men making the threats are not the main problem. The men folding after the threats are. Trump and Blanche are the visible face of the rot. Cornyn and Tillis are the mechanism that keeps it respectable. You've been listening to Systemic Error, thanks to Alternet for today's article, with the automated voice of Liberts. Thanks for listening.